Field Day is the biggest on-air event in amateur radio. Last week, we looked at things that you can do during the course of Field Day to give you an idea of what to expect. This week, we're going to look at the operation of station W8THV at Franklin County Emergency Management and Homeland Security in 2018. This will give you an idea of how you can organize a Field Day station, especially one that is focused on emergency communication. Stick around.
Black one.
Episode 66 of Radio KD8TTE introduced Field Day. We are looking today at building a Field Day station plan. Remember that the American Radio Relay League Field Day is the open house of amateur radio. It's a chance to show people what we're capable of doing. We're going to have a lot of operation in public spaces, a lot of operation in emergency mode. Putting more into your plan can help you to get more out of your operation on Field Day. As an ARRL operating event, Field Day operation is specified by the League. It's not a contest, but it's structured with a system of points to recognize desirable achievements at any station in operation. To get started, we can head to the League's website at www.arrl.org and find a link to the Field Day page. Once at the Field Day page, you can scroll down to see information about Field Day, any changes for the current year to be aware of, and finally a section that says Resources and Rules. There, we will see information about Field Day, broken down into expandable sections. The objective section is the one that's open at first. It tells us what we're trying to do. We're trying to make contact with as many stations as possible. We're learning to operate in abnormal situations and in less than optimal conditions. Once again, the example that we are using in this video is W8THV operation from 2018. W8THV is located at the Franklin County Emergency Management and Homeland Security Emergency Operations Center in Ohio. That team is an auxiliary communications AUXCOM group that is coordinated by the agency. The agency will coordinate with and trains with Franklin County, Ohio, Amateur Radio Emergency Service, Central Ohio Traffic Net, and other amateur radio groups in the area. That gives the opportunity for training, getting familiar, and then being able to recruit people specifically to the AUXCOM team at Franklin County for the purpose of operating that station and being part of the roster of people who can be dispatched by the agency. The agency also has a community emergency response team that's active and can draw from that volunteer pool as well. Field Day is an opportunity to exercise a post-disaster operating scenario. Consistent with the agency operation, we organized that station operation for Field Day with the Incident Command System. That includes, but is not limited to, the ICS forms that you see when you're going through the ICS training. So let's start with the concept for operation. We specified that communication assets were going to be necessary to be able to get the job at hand taken care of, which meant that we needed to have the auxiliary communicators. We needed to exercise the memoranda of understanding that we had with various NGOs in the area, and the county was also calling upon state assets. By specifying different forces on a single incident, the scenario showed the need for unified command, a key principle of ICS. The incident commander came from the agency AUXCOM team. The planning section chief was designated and started to build the plan. Another principle of ICS is management by objective. The planning section chief and incident commander went through the Field Day rules to see what objectives the station should try. They then built out a list of 17 objectives. Each objective is defined, the rule or rules that govern it is also specified, as well as a time on Saturday when that was to be addressed. With some additional information like command focus and situational awareness, we had the fundamental components needed for the Form 202 incident objectives. We already knew who our points of contact for the various organizations would be. These are standard points of contact. These are relationships that have been established and get exercised regularly. We specified who would represent each of the agencies and organizations being called upon to operate for the purpose of this scenario. Each representative would go back to their respective organizations to get help needed and to constitute a team. Each of the operators would be placed in various roles for the conduct of the operation under unified command. Not all agency personnel would stick together with people from their own agency. Everyone blended into a single operation under unified command. ICS Form 203 helps us to capture this structure. Of course, we had a public information officer as well as a safety officer. The safety officer's analysis was specific to our operation and the hazards that we would want to be sure that we addressed, both those for the purpose of exercise play and those that were real world. The ICS Form 215A helped with that. That's where the safety officer addressed specific concerns and saw to it that we identified mitigations. Of course, all the risk analysis and mitigation doesn't do you much good if you're not also briefing people on how to identify and to address risks. ICS Form 208 covers that territory. All of these various ICS forms would come together, and it was able to be our incident action plan. Thus, W8THV operation was able to perform an emergency mode communication function in the same organizational structure as would be employed for management during emergencies. The assignments are important, of course, but that doesn't mean the job is over. We actually have to go back to the objectives, make sure that all of them have been assigned. We haven't let anything slip through the cracks. Each objective then will need to have action upon it. It'll need to be prepared. For example, a public information table isn't something that you can just whip together. Somebody has got to see what resources do we have, what is it that we want to tell visitors to the site, where's the table going to come from, where are we going to position it. A lot of those details need to be worked out so that when it comes time for operation, the objective can be done. The same thing with educational activities. Who's going to speak or who's going to demonstrate, who's going to help people to do what it is that the activity is about. There's going to be probably some combination of things, and the more people you have doing demonstrations and short presentations and so on, the better. That's going to give you an opportunity to mix things up for the visitors. All of those are going to require coordination. You're going to have to know where it's going to happen, make sure they have the resources necessary to get that job done well, and to engage people that want to be part of that activity. What we've described here is just one way to go about this. Because W8THV is connected to an emergency management agency, the focus on things like emergency mode operation and the coordination of resources from different agencies was important. Your club might have a different focus. ICS and the related documentation might not be relevant to you. Even so, the concepts we're talking about here are going to be important. Breaking down the work, identifying the things that you want to do, making the assignments, seeing to it that those are supported are all going to be necessary for success. Whether you're emergency operation focused or not, ARRL has a lot of resources to help you. The Field Day Packet gives you a lot of information that can be useful for understanding how everything works together. There's a safety officer checklist. There's an article to help you succeed. It gives you great ideas for how you can make the most out of your efforts. Don't forget the ARRL W1AW bulletins on air as an example. They come out when they come out. If you've missed them, it's a big bonus that you've missed. There's a schedule of the W1AW Field Day bulletins available, so be sure that you get that and that you build it into your plan. Field Day is a very useful exercise. It can be a lot of fun. It can be educational, both for people who are visiting as well as those who are already amateur operators. There's great awareness for emergency managers, for elected officials, and for members of the public. Just a little bit of planning can go a long way to making it a good experience for everyone. So get with your club, figure out how to join the operation, what is it that you're going to bring to the table when it comes time to showing off what amateur radio is all about. If your club isn't doing anything, then maybe you should be the one to put your hand up and say you're going to run the field day operation. It doesn't have to be big, it doesn't have to be complex. It can be as simple as 1 or 2 or 3 people all getting together, setting up in a park, and being able to communicate on field day and just being friendly and open and having a place where people can visit. Whatever you're doing, make sure that you're doing something. It's really the open house of amateur radio for a reason. So whatever you do, have a great time. If you found this video to be helpful, please share it, like it, help others to see it so that they can get on the air and be active for field day as well, whether it's in their own operation or whether they're joining yours. Hit like and subscribe. Don't miss the new stuff. 7-3, this is Radio KD8TTE.